All right, we're doing this for real. All right, here's how this is gonna go. I'm creating this video to put it on YouTube because that's what people do. And fuck, this sucks so bad. What am I thinking? What am I even thinking about? So here's how this video is gonna go. I'm creating this video to talk about movies that I'm looking forward to in 2024. A lot of you guys are probably coming from the Beyond the Brand podcast with Angelo and Frankie. Those dudes, shout out to them. They're really fucking dope. And if you listen to their podcast, you'll hear it on every single episode because they're just doing so much for the city, and they're putting a lot of people on, to artists and creators and people who are just doing their own thing. It's really dope to see, and I'm very grateful to be a part of it. After we wrapped up that episode of Beyond the Brand, it really, I was talking to them about how it really made me want to start doing it again. It felt really cool to be in that recording space talking about things you love, and I just think it's something that it's like kind of comforting in a weird way to be able to just share your opinions on art and give people some of my perspective. So all of the things I'm going to be saying in this channel and all of the things I'm going to be talking about and what I think about them, they're all going to be about me and how they affect me and what I think about them and how they make me feel. So if I say I don't like a movie, you'll probably love it. Like, I don't know. That's how art works. You know what I mean? When I say I fucking loved Dune Part 2, there's people out there that think that shit's boring. So I don't care if they think it's boring because I love it. And that's just what it is. That's how the world works. So I'm going to be, in this video, I'm really going to be going through movies that are scheduled to be released in 2024, but I don't know. Obviously, no one knows when there's going to be a scheduling push, or if there's just rumors of it coming out. But I'm going to start off with the ones that have a release date and have like trailers and stuff, and then I'm going to move on to movies that'll probably be released in 2025 or just don't have a release date at all. First off, I want to say that this is just me listing them off. This isn't like a set, like ranked list or anything like that of anticipation. So I'm just going to be naming off random movies. Some of them you might recognize and some of them you might not. And hopefully you'll be looking forward to them as much as I am. The first movie I want to start off talking about is Nosferatu. I don't really want to say this is a remake. I just want to say it's another rendition. It's another adaptation of the Count Orlok story, and that's kind of the beauty of Dracula movies and vampire movies in general, because they can be the same story, but it's such a versatile story that every rendition is a completely different movie. You have terrible vampire movies or Dracula movies, and you have amazing ones. But this one I'm especially excited for, and probably the most excited I've ever been to watch a vampire movie in general, because of Robert Eggers himself. And for those of you who don't know who that is, he directed The Lighthouse and The Witch and also The Northman, which if you go back and listen to one of the episodes we did on None of This Really Matters podcast, it was kind of a first reactions, like immediate reactions, when me and my sister went to go see it in theaters. And it was one of the best movie-going experiences I want to say I've ever had, but definitely of that year. It was so great. It was so much fun to watch. It reminded me a lot of a little bit of like Andrei Rublev, and also Come and See, that World War II movie that was fucking probably the most brutal movie I've ever seen in my life, just because of how realistic it was, and it's not take on violence, but it's showing of violence and genuine tragedy. But Nosferatu, the Northman, it's the Northman really shows the Viking era, which was only a few hundred years in a very animated way, but through its subtext, it shows realism and it shows reality of what these people are doing. But at the same time, it also shows the spirituality of consequence and morality and legacy and, you know, the genuine parts of those times. But it also shows the pillaging and the fucked upness of it. For Robert Eggers to make a movie that big, I forgot the budget. I think it was like 90 million to make The Northman. But that was a very blockbuster. That was a very like popcorn movie that Robert Eggers made, as opposed to The Lighthouse and The Witch, which were very small movies, very secluded chamber pieces. The Witch, I think the set design, I think the entire production, like the set, was made with the tools of the time that the movie's set in. Like, I think they only use like wooden hammers and shit like that to make the farm that they live on in The Witch. I don't know if that's true, but I just heard that. And then with The Lighthouse, they actually went to an old lighthouse and shot on these old cameras with old lenses. And the commitment that Robert Eggers takes on genre and also twisting it. How do I even say that? Like making a period piece but also adding your own style is a very hard thing to do, because when people watch or even create a period piece, I feel like there's a major focus on realism and accuracy. But I think Robert Eggers cares about that, but also cares about more of the storytelling, more of the art of twisting what you think is going to happen, but at the same time adding these fantastical parts and the adding grotesque elements to it. It's really a very unique way of watching a period piece. So after watching The Northman, The Lighthouse, and The Witch, the idea of Robert Eggers making a Nosferatu film is exciting, because it's for people who don't know who Robert Eggers is, they're gonna see a trailer or a poster to Nosferatu and be like, oh, they're remaking another old thing. I want to assure you guys that this is not just gonna be a regular old remake. Robert Eggers started off as a costume designer in I believe when he was in high school, and was very heavy on costume design. I believe he directed a play when he was in high school of Nosferatu. And that, I think that's what got him into film school. And for him to be making a high-budgeted Nosferatu film, I think it's going to be very cool to see this in a theater and see this full circle moment in Robert Eggers' career. So that's why I'm super excited to see it. It's going to be starring Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, which is very dope because he's one of my favorite working actors right now. I think he has a lot of self-awareness in his career as far as the roles that he chooses to play or the roles that's offered to him. He reminds me of like a 70s horror star, and how he plays great in those genres and setting that atmosphere. And his face just has a face that almost just belongs on camera. And Barbarian was one of my favorite films of 2022. And for the casting of Bill Skarsgård in Barbarian was genius, because knowing that he can trick an audience into thinking he's going to be the bad guy. And spoiler alert, he's not the bad guy, but I think it speaks volumes to him doing that, but also literally playing Pennywise in the It movies. Count Orlok in the Nosferatu movie is going to be great to see, and I don't doubt for a second that it's going to be a great performance. It's also going to be starring Lily Rose Depp and Nicholas Hoult, which, you know, it's going to be fun. And Ralph Ineson is going to be in it. Aaron Taylor Johnson, Willem Dafoe is supposed to be playing like a vampire hunter, I believe. I'm just super excited, and hopefully, you know, you guys go check it out too. So another movie that I am excited to see is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. It's going to be a prequel to a sequel that is a prequel, I believe. I'm not sure. But I'm a huge fan of the Mad Max franchise because of the post-apocalyptic world that George Miller has created since the 70s. Mad Max 2 is one of the best movies you could ever watch if you're bored. And I just think that having another one to watch in theaters is just you can't go wrong with it. Feel about the Mission Impossible movies, like they can keep making them, and I'll be fine. Like I don't have a problem with them making this, because each and every single one, you can tell that there's a lot of effort and heart put into it. It's not just some mindless sequel that people are making. So I'm really excited uh, to see Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth in this film, because one, I'm probably gonna watch every single movie that Anya Taylor-Joy ever does, and then Chris Hemsworth, I think he's in a weird. It almost seems like he's in like a midlife crisis or something like that, because he's been doing some pretty weird roles, I think, as of recently. Like even in the Thor movies, the vibe of those movies has completely changed since the first Thor movie, and I don't know if I'm a fan of his decisions as far as the roles he's doing, but it's taking a lot of charisma for that to be happening. So shout out to Chris Hemsworth. I hope he's all right. But I'm definitely going to be in the front row of the IMAX theater watching this. Mad Max Fury Road was one of my favorite movies of the 2010s. And I remember seeing that in theaters 10 years ago and just being mind blown. I loved Fury Road so much. And I just hope that this one exceeds it. If not, no matter what, I'm going to be seeing it, and it's going to be exciting. Another movie that's going to be interesting for me to watch is Maxine, which is the third installment of the X trilogy. I don't know what the name of the trilogy is, but X came out a couple years ago. Saw that in theaters and did not like it at all. I saw Pearl in theaters. I thought it was better than X, but it was okay. It was pretty good. But Maxine is going to be taking place in the late 70s, early 80s in the LA, in like the pornography scene. I believe Mia Goth is going to be playing like some adult film actress or director or producer. I'm going to go see it just because I love Mia Goth and her performances. But I'm just not a fan of the writing and directing of Ty West. The House of the Devil is his best movie, but he hasn't really touched anything near there in a while. X and Pearl definitely have some amazing imagery, but I think it wears its influences on its sleeve, and I don't know if I'm a fan of that happening. I already watched the first two in theaters, so why would I not watch the third one in theaters just to fucking say I did it? I believe that Mia Goth is going to go down in history as one of the best horror film legends, because Infinity Pool was top three movies of last year. I thought it was an absolute masterpiece. I thought it was so great, touched me on so many levels. Like it really left an effect on me. It was like a termite, how like it hit me, and then it took days for me to stop thinking about it, because it's all I could think about after. It was an absolute masterpiece, and I could probably take that movie to my grave. I loved Infinity Pool so much. I just think that with Ty West, again, he wears those influences on his sleeve, and that's great. But I just think the way he's executing his films and just me watching them as a film, it kind of just feels stale in a weird way. I'm looking at a page showing the rundown of Maxine and what's going to be about. And at the bottom, there's like a little article that says how Indiana Jones inspired the final shot of Pearl. And to me, that being a headline, it shows like this dude is so open about his inspirations and his influences, but it's a little too transparent. I know Ty West I know it's possible to be excited about how inspired you are by other movies, but I think for it to be in every single headline about the movie, I think it kind of ruins it. As opposed to Tarantino having bits and pieces of every movie he loves and it influencing one movie, but also that one movie is its own thing. It doesn't feel like anything else. I think that Ty West movies are the same thing, but it just feels like an amalgamation of everything. It doesn't feel like its own thing. Just like how X feels like a downgrade, a great value version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's just how I feel about it. I don't know. It's not really that big of a deal. But I'm gonna end up seeing Maxine because I'm a fan of horror movies. And as far as the description, it says Maxine is gonna be about, you know, this porn star who gets a big break, and a killer starts like stalking her. So I am excited to see it. Based on that, it's probably going to be like I think it's going to be like a giallo type movie, like the old Italian horror movies that, you know, kind of shaped the 80s slasher. So I think it's going to be pretty sweet. I think I hope it's the best one. I hope I get to see a good, solid, kind of like pulpy action movie or horror movie. Alex Garland's Civil War is the next movie that I am very excited about, because it's topical, I guess. It's about the state of America. It's about separation. It's about I haven't even watched it, but the trailer gives out a lot of detail of what it's going to, what, like, basically it's a very big setup for this movie that I don't know. It's going to be less than 2 hours, maybe an hour 45, but for a movie saying this much already in the trailer, I'm very excited to see how it goes watching this movie. As I know Alex Garland isn't really the type to hold back necessarily, especially if you watch Ex Machina. If Ex Machina were to come out today, it would be a lot to say. It would be pretty brutal to watch, and it is. It's a very brutally honest portrayal of AI and the future and technology, and how there's no stopping it. It's inevitable, if you will. If you will, what the fuck? Annihilation, another one of Garland's films that is absolutely amazing, well crafted piece of art that is very psychedelic in a way. Like, that ending was so out of nowhere, but in like the best way possible. I think it was just something that would stay in your mind and you wouldn't really forget about it because of the sound design and even the set design and the effects of that film. It really just stick in your head, and the concepts that come up in there. Even though I know it's based off of a novel that came out in the 80s, or I can't remember exactly when it came out, but a long time ago. It's very cool to see, you know, those things come to life and have these images in your head after watching a movie like Annihilation, and seeing this journey that, you know, this group of women go on, in something that we've never seen in a movie before. It's super sick. Talking about Civil War, I'm just sure it's gonna have a lot to say. It's gonna be very topical. It's gonna be very political. Obviously, it's gonna give a lot of people a lot of things to say. People are gonna walk out of the theater thinking a lot. I can sense a bunch of arguments, a bunch of just discussions, and it's gonna be like funny almost, like to see that how people react to a movie, and that's the beauty of movies. And I feel like this is what movies kind of need to do, is make you talk and make you think and make it provoke you in some way. So it's pretty dope that this kind of movie is being made, and I'm surprised it is being made, especially independently with A24. So it's kind of a miracle that this movie is being made. I'm very surprised, but Alex Garland's the fucking man, and yeah, I'll be there to see it. So yeah. So another movie that I just don't believe it's gonna come out this year. It's scheduled to come out in 2024, but I just don't believe it's too good to be true. But Gladiator 2, starring Denzel Washington, Paul Mescal, and Barry Keoghan. It's directed by Ridley Scott. It's such a movie that I dreamed of as a kid, and for this to be a real thing coming out, I cannot wait. And if it gets pushed back or if it never gets made, I wouldn't doubt it, because it's It's too good. It's too good to be true. I don't think it's gonna come out, but I just wanted to bring it up. Who knows when it's who? I don't know if it's gonna take place as like a young. I don't know if it's gonna be a prequel or anything like that, but I'm just excited for it. And you know damn well that if that movie comes out, I'm there opening night, fucking front row, everything like that. So I'm super excited for that. Denzel Washington and a Roman like swords and sandals type like epic. Oh my god. I love Denzel Washington in those kind of roles where you can tell his theater part of him comes out, where you watch The Tragedy of Macbeth was amazing, a piece of acting. And I think he should have won the Oscar for that, but you know that whole thing with Will Smith happened. This later version of Denzel that we're getting is going severely underrated, and not to say that stop paying attention to his best roles, but like come on, you know, like Denzel is banging out fucking heaters, and we're all just taking it for granted. But I'm just excited for what is to come with this possible Gladiator 2. Paul Mescal kind of taking on this big role. I feel like this is going to gain a lot of traction as far as marketing and stuff like that. So for Paul Mescal to be like the face of it, it's going to be very interesting, because I don't think Denzel Washington will be the main character. I think he's either going to be a bad guy or kind of like how kind of like what Oliver Reed's character was in the first one. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to be kind of like a larger than life event, at least for me. That's what this whole channel is. Remember, that's what it's all me, baby, all me. It's going to be a big event. I feel like it's going to be something that either no one fucking cares about, or it's going to be something that is probably going to take over the internet. The last movie I want to talk about is Megalopolis, which is Francis Ford Coppola's film, and I want to say it's his first film in who knows how long. And he's making a return, and it's going to be interesting because it's going to star Adam Driver playing this architect. It says right here, an architect wants to rebuild New York City as a utopia following a devastating disaster. This movie is going to be purely funded by Francis Ford Coppola himself. I believe that's why it's taken so long for him to make it, because I know he sold off his like wine company, and he's just been funding for this movie for over a decade now. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of producers. It's just him and Fred Roos. He has a vision for the perfect movie that he wants to make. It's gonna be exciting to see a pure vision without any production interference or anything like that by the master himself, the guy who made The Godfather and Apocalypse Now. This is probably going to be his final movie, and it's just going to be a very big thing for film. And I think that's what makes it so exciting, is that the master is returning in a weird way. He's not my favorite director of all time, but he's royalty. He's like film royalty. It's kind of like Kendrick Lamar. It's like Kendrick Lamar doesn't come out with a lot of stuff, not often, but if he's on a feature, you listen. Or if he's comes out with a single, you listen. Everyone listens, and that's Francis Ford Coppola, to where he hasn't dropped anything in over 10 years, and now this is his voice, this is his vision, and I think it's going to be another big moment in film. And just a couple other ones. I don't want to spend a lot of time on listing these, but The Shrouds is another film by David Cronenberg, one of my favorite directors of all time. He is the horror master to me, and I think that David Cronenberg making a return after Crimes of the Future, which was one of my favorite films of 2022. He's making a movie called The Shrouds, which here it says Karsh, an innovative businessman and grieving widower, builds a device to connect with the dead inside a burial shroud. Knowing David Cronenberg's movies, this is going to be weird, and that's what I love about his movies. So that's all you have to know. Alien Romulus, like I said about the Mad Max movies, you can keep on making alien movies and I'll watch them. This one looks like it's going to be kind of originate back to the first movie. not in terms of story, but in terms of tone. As far as it being a horror movie, a genuine horror movie, it's going to be directed by Fede Alvarez, which he made Don't Breathe, which was a really good horror movie that came out in 2018. And he also made the Evil Dead remake, which I never seen because I remember seeing the trailer and I was way too scared, and I still refuse to watch it. The one that's going to come out in June is Yorgos Lanthimos's Kinds of Kindness. This is going to be a follow-up to Poor Things, which did amazing at the Oscars. And for Yorgos Lanthimos to finally be in this kind of next level of popularity, it's going to be interesting, you know, because he's already made great movies like The Favorite and The Lobster and, you know, The Killing of a Sacred Deer. But Kinds of Kindness, I feel like from Poor Things and on, it's going to be like the next chapter in the next like phase or next era of Yorgos Lanthimos, and it's going to be exciting to see this, especially so short after Poor Things just came out. I feel like this is a very weird time to be. It's kind of like too much in a weird way, but either way, I'm super excited to see it. Definitely going to be there. So that's pretty much it. That's those are definitely not all the movies. But I just don't want to keep on keeping on with how many movies I could list off. But I'll definitely be making reviews of, you know, movies I'll see. I'm definitely excited to keep on doing videos about movies and watching more movies and, you know, telling you guys just about like underrated stuff. You know, movies that I'm interested in, new movies that I'm interested in, and movies just that I watch, you know, on the average day. I'll be making videos on them and, you know, going over certain topics and certain, I guess, news. I'm going to be going over things like that, but I'm definitely not going to be making this kind of like a podcast. I'm not going to be doing this like once a week or anything. I could, you know, there will be a couple videos that'll come out, you know, consecutively, but I don't plan on it. I'm not going to make it a weekly thing, but I'm going to try to do it as much as I can because I love making these videos. But yeah, I'll be back, and whatever the next video is about, it's going to be about that. And yeah, please excuse my voice. I know it was very off-putting. This is kind of a bad time to do a first video, but I just really wanted to do this. And so I wanted to just, I don't know, talk about these movies I'm excited for. And I think a lot of these movies that I talked about today, I'm definitely going to be making videos on them. So yeah, this is the beginning of a new channel. This is a whole new thing for me, and I'm really appreciative for if you're still watching this video. Subscribe to this channel if you want. I'm going to be talking about is movies, maybe some other stuff, but all I plan on talking about is movies, because that's what this channel was made for. Now, this was a lot for me to do. This definitely isn't the first video I've attempted recording to post on YouTube, but if you're seeing this means I gathered the courage to edit this video and actually upload it. So hopefully it was worth it. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next video, and hopefully it's a little bit more interesting.